Let me start with the truth that really might surprise you. The couples who last the longest are rarely the most romantic. Now, hear me out. They're not the flashiest. They don't always look perfect on social media. They don't have constant chemistry highs, and they're not trying to be goals. But they do have some things that are far more powerful: emotional safety, repair skills, boundaries, humility, and the ability to grow together instead of apart. Today's episode, I want to talk about love that actually lasts. Not the fantasy version, but the real one. And the lessons we learn when we listen to real couples instead of romantic myths on the internet. If you're single, dating, married, partnered, or healing from heartbreak, this episode is going to change how you think about love. Stay tuned. We're going to dig in. Welcome to the Secret Formula of Femininity for women who want to live a more feminine, fun, and fabulous life. I'm Dr. Nicole Monteiro, your host on this weekly journey to unlocking your inner radiance, nurturing fulfilling relationships, and becoming the best version of yourself. Welcome back to another episode of the Secret Formula of Femininity. I'm Dr. Nicole, your host and guide on this journey to tapping into your feminine essence. I'm also a wife, mother, professor, licensed psychologist, and founder of the Center for Healing and Development, where I work with individuals and couples navigating relationships, communication, and emotional well-being. In my work and in life in general, I've had the privilege of observing and working with real couples, not just the snippets that we see online. Couples that have been together for 10, 20, 30 plus years. Couples who have survived it all: infidelity, illness, loss, parenting issues, financial strain. Couples who almost didn't make it, and some couples who actually didn't make it. And what I've learned is this: what keeps love alive and flourishing is usually not what we're taught to chase. So today I want to walk you through some of the most consistent lessons that real couples teach us: what works, what doesn't, and what quietly destroys love over time. Let me start with the story telling you about the moment I stopped believing in effortless love. Early in my career, I noticed something interesting. The couples who came to therapy saying, "We just fell out of love. We're not compatible anymore. The spark is gone." They often were not dealing with a lack of love. They were dealing with years of what was unspoken: unspoken resentment, unspoken, unresolved conflict, emotional disconnection, unaddressed stress, poor repair skills. And I remember thinking, oh my God, we have romanticized chemistry and all of these big moments, and we've demonized effort. I literally have had people come in and say, I don't know if I should be with this person. It shouldn't be this hard. And I think so many of us have difficulty distinguishing hard struggle that we don't need to go through from the effort that is needed to keep love alive. But real couples taught me this: love doesn't die suddenly, it erodes quietly. And the erosion almost always has patterns. And I want us to talk about these patterns so we can be aware and not fall unconsciously into them. Lasting love is not about staying in love, it's about staying emotionally available. Let's talk about lesson number one: what works. It's emotional safety over chemistry. One of the biggest lessons from real couples is that emotional safety matters more than sparks. Listen to what you're asking for. Listen to what your friends are asking for. It usually involves some sort of emotional safety. It's feeling safe without being perfect. It's being able to express needs without fear. It's being unafraid of disagreement or conflict. It's when they know that conflict will not cause the relationship to fall apart. Research consistently shows that emotional safety and responsiveness, which is a part of that safety, are far more predictive of relationship satisfaction and longevity than chemistry or initial attraction. So the takeaway is that passion alone is not enough. It's what brings us together oftentimes, but so much more is needed to keep us together, which is why you have some people hopping from relationship to relationship looking for that spark, that chemistry, that passion, not understanding the other skills that are needed to keep it alive. So I need you to understand that butterflies fade, but safety builds roots. When couples learn to prioritize listening over whining, repair over punishment, this is key, and curiosity over defensiveness, that's what helps to deepen love beyond the initial passion and chemistry. What doesn't work is avoidance and silence. Stonewalling, the silent treatment, being afraid of disagreements. One of the most destructive patterns I see is that avoidance. Couples don't break because they fight too much. Rarely is that the case. They break because they stop talking altogether. They go into their own world and they retreat. Avoidance can look like shutting down, being passive aggressive, being like, I'm fine when you're not, emotional withdrawal, putting your emotional energy into other people, and letting resentment stack quietly. I need you to understand that silence doesn't keep the peace, it keeps the distance. And the distance is what pulls you apart. Couples who last learn to talk before things explode or before they implode internally. After working with so many couples, I've heard a pattern in what they wish they had learned earlier. So let me share some of that with you. When you ask couples what no one told them, what they wish they had known, they usually say, I wish I had learned to listen and not defend. I wish I learned how to apologize sooner rather than later. I wish I understood that my partner is not the enemy, that we needed to come together and fight the enemy out there. I wish I didn't assume that love meant mind reading, that he would automatically or she would automatically know what I needed. Love doesn't require perfection, it requires humility. Lesson number 2 of what works is repair skills. All couples rupture. This is normal. It's two human beings coming together. What separates couples who last from those who don't is repair. Repair sounds like I was wrong. I can't tell you how many times I've had to use that phrase. I hear you. That wasn't my intention. Can we try again? Couples who last repair quickly and try their best not to keep score. They don't punish vulnerability and they know how to come back together. Love survives mistakes, it doesn't survive pride. What doesn't work is keeping score in power struggles. This is another relationship killer. When you keep score, you try to see who did more, who apologized last, who sacrificed more, who's winning. Real couples say this clearly. Relationships are not competitions, they're collaborations. When winning matters more than understanding, the relationship always loses. The third lesson in terms of what works is shared meaning and adaptability. This is what carries couples through the years. Those who last learn to evolve together, revisit values, renegotiate the roles that they signed up for, and adapt to seasons. They grow with life changes. What worked at 25 won't necessarily work at 45, and they understand that. What worked pre kids won't necessarily work post kids, and they understand that. What worked before illness and career changes and other life transitions won't always work afterwards. Love that lasts is flexible, not fixed. What absolutely doesn't work is assuming that long term love should just be easy with no effort. This myth is what quietly destroys relationship. If it's meant to be, it shouldn't be this hard. I know you've probably heard it before. Real couples actually say the opposite. They say love required effort on their part, but not suffering. Those are two different things. Growth was uncomfortable, but worth it in the end. We had to learn skills, is what they'll tell you. Remember, effort doesn't mean you chose wrong. It means you chose to grow. So let's get into some Q&A. These are some of the most common questions that I've gotten in my DMs, in my coaching sessions, and in my work with couples. Question number 1 is conflict a sign the relationship is failing? Probably the number one question. No, it is absolutely not. What's a sign of failing or not working is unresolved conflict. It's that avoidance, it's that lack of being able to communicate. It's not being able to hold discomfort. So either you avoid it or you just explode and blow up just to get your feelings out and not be able to listen to the other. So let's think about it like this. Conflict is not the evil. Running from it, not taking the time to really understand and resolve it is what really destroys relationships. Question 2 is can love come back after disconnection? Yes, absolutely. When both partners are willing to rebuild safety and trust, reconnection can happen. And sometimes both people are not at the same exact place. But if one person is willing to look at themselves and put in effort, they can certainly model and set the stage for reconnection and rebuilding. Question three is, when should couples seek help? Well, first of all, I think it's wonderful to even think about seeking help because we are not in the village that we used to have, where there are multiple generations and elders and a community of other married people who can be trusted and give guidance. So, oftentimes, couples will need professional help. And it's best if that happens before resentment hardens hearts, before communication completely stops, and before distance feels permanent. Now, it's not that you can't get help at those stages, but it is so much easier if you try to prevent those things. There's this research by the Gottmans that looked at couples over a long period of time, and it found that there were four factors or four horsemen that greatly predicted divorce. So you want to get help before you let those set in, or if you notice those. It's criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. And those are all related to some of the things I mentioned earlier, like avoiding conflict, blowing up and being defensive, having resentment, keeping score, weaponizing vulnerability. If you notice these patterns in your relationship, it is so important to get help before they take root and before it feels like neither party wants to work on the relationship. And question four is therapy only for couples in crisis? Absolutely not. Some of the strongest couples I know come in to strengthen a good thing. Like I said, they want to come before those toxic factors can eat away at their relationship and erode it so much. So don't think about it as crisis. Think about it as prevention. Think about it as insulation. Think about it as protecting a good thing that you want to preserve. I love those questions because they highlight what real couples teach us about what love requires. It's emotional availability, communication skills, repair, boundaries, humility, adaptability, and shared meaning. None of this points to perfection, photo ops, couples goals on social media. It's not constant passion or mind reading. It's the willingness to dig in, trust each other, and give each other grace. If this at all resonates with you, I want you to know whether you're dating, partnered, married, looking for love. Needing support does not mean your relationship is broken. It means you care enough to protect it. At the Center for Healing and Development and through my coaching framework, we work with couples who want to communicate better, who want to learn to repair after hurt, who want to rebuild trust and deepen emotional safety. We also work with couples to better understand themselves as well as understand the ups and downs of love and what their partner may be experiencing in their own journey. Because when you're in a relationship, it's not just about self understanding, it's about us understanding. Couples therapy and coaching for married couples is not about blame. It's about looking for shared meaning, shared understanding, and the tools to get you to the other side of whatever you're struggling with. And the reality is, most of us were not taught these skills. So many of us have witnessed toxic examples, whether it's in our own immediate family, through our friend group, the larger family, and now these toxic communication styles and ways of relating are transferring into the workplace. So even if you're single, so many people are having this experience of horrible communication, repair, trust, and vulnerability issues, even in the workplace and in their friend group. So these are skills that are lacking throughout so many areas of society. And when you work on your relationship and your future relationship, you are making an investment, not just in yourself, but in the future generations and the people you might be mentoring or working with, or your children that you want to have happy, successful, and healthy relationships. I know we've all probably heard that one of the single most important decisions we can make is who we decide to partner with. And I agree that that is a vital decision. You want to have a person that you can build a firm foundation with. But the next best decision you can make in terms of relationships and your own well being is investing in the skills to make that relationship healthy, happy, fulfilling, and long lasting. Nobody wants to jump from ship to ship constantly. It creates instability. And if you have kids, it creates more hardships, not for you as a couple or a former couple, but the kids who are left in the wake of all of this. And although a lot of us haven't directly been taught the skills for healthy relationships, the clues are sometimes right in front of us. We just have to be willing to look at the pieces and look at the examples of people who have made it. Now, a lot of people have the rhetoric now that long lasting couples have definitely gone through struggle. It's horrible. Relationships and marriage don't benefit. The men are saying it doesn't benefit them. The women are saying it doesn't benefit them. What I do know is that people who haven't gone through a long lasting relationship aren't always the most qualified to speak on the factors that make it happy, healthy, and long lasting. Those are the three factors that we want. We want healthy relationships, we want relationships where we feel satisfied and fulfilled, and we want relationships that stand the test of time. And we can have all three, but we have to know what those ingredients are. And what's happening is we're having a lot of fast food chefs who don't really understand how you put those ingredients together, how you mix them, how you make a gourmet meal. But they're the ones speaking as if they're gourmet chefs. What I would implore everyone to do is to look at the couples who made it, look at what the research says, and look at what the couples who have made it are showing us. What lessons are they telling us to follow that worked, and what mistakes are they trying to warn us to avoid? And I think another factor that doesn't get talked about enough is sensual intelligence. And that's probably going to be a whole other episode. But it's the idea that outside of those basic communication and relational skills, we have to understand each other as sensual beings. When we talk about passion or love dying, a lot of times what we're saying is that our sensual lives have become boring, unimaginative. We've stopped putting effort into it. And that's when it becomes easier to fantasize about somebody else. It becomes easier to think about passion with someone else, or the grass being greener, or having intimacy needs filled by someone else. But if we come back to a place of sensual intelligence, and I love this phrase used by Esther Perel. In her book, Mating in Captivity, she talks about this tension we have between wanting intimacy, emotional closeness, being known by another, as well as desiring mystery, a bit of separation and individuation. And so understanding that balance within a couple is so important. There's the intimacy and the closeness that ties us together, but desire is often fueled by a bit of mystery, wanting to get to know the person better. So, one of the things that couples have to learn is sensual intelligence and the skill of sparking desire. Now, that's different than nonstop passion all the time, but it does speak to the need that we all have to feel excited, ignited, to feel desired, and to desire. And so that's a whole other part of the conversation that is key. But I also want to make sure that we don't lose sight of the fact that some of those core relationship skills around communication, boundaries, building trust, and repairing after some sort of rupture, that those are key, and they set the stage for everything else that you're going to be able to do as a couple. I want you to understand that love that lasts isn't loud, it's steady. It's not perfect, it's intentional, even that desire and sensual part. It doesn't just happen by accident. It happens when two people are willing to learn, repair, and grow together. If you want to wet your own feet in learning more about how to learn, repair, and grow within a relationship, make sure you get my book, The Boundaries to Bliss Blueprint, for women who are finally ready to win at love. And if you and your partner are ready to take your relationship to the next level, you can reach out to me at the link in the show notes for more information on some of the couples intensives run by the Center for Healing and Development. We want your relationship not only to last, but to be happy, healthy, fulfilling, satisfying, and to stand the test of time. Thank you so much for joining. Make sure you share this episode with someone that you know who needs it, perhaps a couple or a woman in your life. Make sure you hit subscribe and any notifications you need for our weekly episodes so you don't miss a beat. And I also want to make sure you know that on the YouTube channel, we are doing a 100-day glow up challenge. Yes, that's one video per day for the next 100 days in all areas of your feminine essence journey. That's boundaries, that's feminine energy, that's communication, that's dating and relationships and marriage. We are touching on every area that you need to become the best version of yourself. So make sure you subscribe so that you can get those videos in between our episodes. Thank you all so much for joining. I will see you in the next episode. I'm Dr. Nicole.